One day, I will tell you my story. But trust me, you'll ask me how I've been maintaining the smile on my face this entire time.
On Sunday, November 2, 2025, police and emergency responders were alerted to a fatal incident at a Days Inn by Wyndham Motel in Elmsford, Westchester County, New York. At approximately mid-afternoon, motel cleaning staff discovered the body of 32-year-old roseberline Philippe inside room 230. Her death was later ruled a homicide by law enforcement investigators. Surveillance footage from the motel showed a man leaving the scene in a vehicle with a small child shortly before police arrived. That man was identified as 32-year-old Justin Bartley, the father of Philippe's 2-year-old son. Within hours, law enforcement located Bartley and the child in the Bronx and took them into custody. Bartley was later charged with second-degree murder and endangering the welfare of a child, and he entered a plea of not guilty at his arraignment.
Not guilty in the murder of his ex-girlfriend. Her body was found last month at an Elmsford motel. News 12's Lauren Del Val was at Westchester County Court for the hearing.
Family and friends of 32-year-old Rose Philippe packed the courtroom. Bartley appeared before County Court Judge Maurice Williams. Bartley is accused of murdering Philippe, his ex-girlfriend, in the presence of their 2-year-old son at the Elmsford Days Inn. He was indicted on second-degree murder and endangering the welfare of a child. During a brief court appearance, the attorney for 32-year-old Bartley pled not guilty on his behalf. Philippe's family was also issued temporary orders of protection. Rose's father Benoit and brother Benel spoke with me afterwards off camera. They both say Bartley had shown aggressive tendencies previously and just want justice for the, quote, senseless killing. Rose was the third eldest daughter in her family, and her father referred to her as a sweet princess who never had problems with anyone. Philippe's family is taking care of the 2-year-old child. In White Plains, Westchester County, Lauren Del Val, News 12.
This is Facebook Crime. We deliver clear, factual, and up-to-date true crime stories. Subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed on the latest cases and investigations. Roseberline Philippe, also reported as Rose Berlin Philippe, was 32 years old at the time of her death. Public records list her birth date as April 10, 1993. She lived in White Plains, New York, and was connected to the Hudson Valley region. Philippe lived with her parents in White Plains and shared a 2-year-old son with Justin Bartley, her former partner. The existence of her young child was central to the subsequent investigations and legal strategy. At the time of her death, Philippe worked as an office assistant in the oncology department at White Plains Hospital, indicating her employment in a hospital administrative capacity. Philippe had recently completed training for a position at an Amazon department within a Whole Foods location in Connecticut, suggesting she was pursuing additional work opportunities. Philippe was connected to her community through her work and family. She was memorialized in an obituary that confirmed her death date and listed funeral arrangements, indicating her ties to the area. The man charged in the case is Justin Bartley, also 32 years old at the time of arrest. Philippe and Bartley reportedly met years earlier while attending Portchester High School and later reconnected as adults. Their relationship resulted in the birth of a son. Bartley had an open case in May 2025 involving charges of driving while intoxicated, DWI, and weapons possession at the time of the alleged killing. In 2022, Bartley pleaded guilty in Rockland County Court to second-degree attempted criminal possession of a weapon and DWI, a conviction that resulted in a 5-year probation sentence. At the time of the November 2025 incident, Bartley was on probation due to his earlier convictions. Years after initially knowing each other in high school, Bartley and Philippe rekindled a relationship. The exact timeline of their adult relationship is not publicly detailed, but they had been together long enough to have a child, indicating a multi-year adult relationship. The couple's son, approximately 2 years at the time of the incident, suggests the relationship continued at least through the early 2020s. Philippe's fears regarding Bartley reportedly increased after their child's birth. One day prior to the killing, Bartley showed up uninvited at the White Plains home where Philippe lived with her parents. A family confrontation occurred. Philippe's father instructed Bartley to leave the property. Bartley insisted Philippe and the child come with him, and the family complied. This confrontation is an important event in the timeline, as it precedes the fatal encounter by less than 24 hours, situating it directly within the final events. On the morning of November 2, Bartley and Philippe arrived at the Days Inn by Wyndham in Elmsford, New York, with their 2-year-old child. Authorities believe the pair entered the motel room together at approximately 8:30 a.m. According to law enforcement timelines, Bartley allegedly assaulted Philippe inside the motel room over a period of several hours. While exact minute-by-minute evidence is not publicly available, charging documents state the assault extended from the morning into the afternoon. Police and prosecutors confirmed that surveillance video footage captured Bartley leaving the motel with the couple's toddler around 4:30 p.m. that afternoon. He was seen driving away from the Days Inn with the child. Cleaning staff discovered Philippe's battered body later that afternoon inside room 230. Law enforcement was notified and emergency responders arrived. Philippe was pronounced dead shortly after arrival at the scene. Once Philippe's body was discovered, law enforcement secured the motel room and initiated a homicide investigation. The Elmsford Police Department led the initial investigation, along with the Westchester County Department of Public Safety and the Westchester County District Attorney's Office. Investigators worked in coordination with additional agencies, including a Westchester Safe Streets Task Force and the Westchester County Police Real-Time Crime Center, to trace Bartley's movements after he left the motel with the child. Law enforcement utilized the motel's video surveillance footage and real-time vehicle tracking to follow Bartley's vehicle out of Elmsford and into the Bronx. At approximately 6:15 p.m. on November 2, police located Bartley and the 2-year-old child in the Bronx. Bartley and the child were taken into custody without incident. The child was found safe and subsequently placed with family. The surveillance recordings from the Days Inn were critical pieces of evidence. They showed Bartley and Philippe arriving at the motel room in the morning and Bartley leaving with the toddler in the afternoon. These recordings helped confirm the timeline and link Bartley directly to the location and time frame of Philippe's death. Cleaning staff reported finding Philippe's body in a condition consistent with a prolonged assault, though the details of the specific injuries and forensics have not been disclosed publicly beyond the classification of her death as a beating. While detailed autopsy results have not been publicly released in entirety, the district attorney's office confirmed that Philippe died as a result of blunt force trauma consistent with being beaten. After his arrest, Justin Bartley was formally charged with second-degree murder and endangering the welfare of a child, owing to the presence of the couple's 2-year-old son during the alleged killing. Bartley was arraigned in early December 2025. He pleaded not guilty to the charges. Judge Maurice Dean Williams ordered him held without bail pending further proceedings. Temporary orders of protection were issued in favor of the victim's family. Bartley's next scheduled court appearance was set for March 6, 2026. The case was being prosecuted by Assistant District Attorneys Brian Bendish and Marissa Mora Wynn under the direction of Westchester County District Attorney Susan Kakache. The case drew widespread media attention at the local and national levels, especially given the involvement of a young child in the events surrounding the homicide. In the days after Philippe's death, a GoFundMe campaign was organized to assist with funeral expenses and long-term care for her 2-year-old son. The campaign raised thousands towards its goal, reflecting community support. The campaign narrative described Philippe as dedicated to her child and outlined the intent to use funds for both arrangements and future support for her son. While specifics about prior reported incidents of domestic violence between Philippe and Bartley have not been fully documented beyond police reports and family comments, the case is under broader review within the context of intimate partner violence. Law enforcement agencies involved in the investigation included task forces with experience in violent crime and domestic assault cases. Bartley's legal history of a probationary sentence for weapons and DWI convictions raises questions about monitoring and enforcement of probation conditions in cases involving individuals with histories of violence. The child's presence during the events is central to the child endangerment charge. Legal departments have noted that the welfare of children present during violent crimes is a distinct offense in New York law, beyond homicide charges, meant to address psychological and physical endangerment. As of early 2026, the case remains before the courts. Bartley continues to plead not guilty, asserting his legal right to trial and due process. His legal team's strategies and evidentiary disputes will unfold in written filings and courtroom hearings in the months ahead. Several key questions persist in the public record and investigative narrative. Specific motive, while the timeline of events shows mounting tension and a family confrontation the day before, the charging documents do not publicly disclose a clear motive for why Bartley allegedly attacked Philippe. Detailed forensic report, full autopsy and forensic analysis of injuries have not been released and will likely be central to the prosecution's case during trial preparation. Witness testimony, beyond surveillance footage and family statements, the involvement of any additional witnesses and their contributions to the timeline could emerge in depositions or court testimony. Probation enforcement. The role of probation supervision in preventing or mitigating violence is an issue that may be examined as part of civil inquiries or policy discussions. At this stage, the legal process follows standard New York procedures for homicide and child endangerment cases, with pre-trial hearings and potential motions shaping the path to trial. Thanks for watching. Did you find this case informative? If you want more true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.